Hey everybody, welcome to the Geek Speak show. This is gonna sound like an issues of the day episode. Believe me, it's not. We'll do that later this month. But it's an issue that I've wanted to talk about for a while. It's kind of like another one. Artificial intelligence has been like a shadow over everything that we do that we talk about here on the Geek Speak show. This is one that is more recent, more appropriate because, as you know, we're in June. Some of you, some on this very staff, have just graduated. Some are getting ready to graduate. Congratulations and good luck to those of you that are stepping into the real world. You're gonna need it. That's exactly what I want to talk about. As all of you know, listening to me know, you're especially when I think when Marvel Studios got rid of pretty much their entire creative arts division. That's when you noticed, wait, what is happening here? What's going on? There seems to be a lot of layoffs happening everywhere. In all kinds of big studios, not just independent that just started a month ago. No, big established studios. It's been going on a lot. So I wanted to talk not about that, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it, but also to those graduates, and especially also those that are students now who are thinking, hey, I'm excited. I'm going to have a great career in the industry, whatever that's going to be. But will there be anything waiting for me when that does happen, when I do get ready to get out there? So on to talk about it is Rebecca's son. She's a journalist and cultural critic she was most recently at the senior editor of diversity and inclusion at the Hollywood Reporter. She now writes the independent newsletter, The Quiet Part, on Substack. I have it all linked on the show description for you. You're gonna want to subscribe. It's some pretty interesting articles on there that you want to read that. So welcome, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me, Henry.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So let me start with this. Actually, I mean, both of us, we've been in this industry for a while, different industries, kind of, but still for a while. For you, have you ever seen the number of layoffs in so many companies that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so I've been in an adult, a career professional for over 20 years, and this is pretty bad. The closest I can compare this to economically, so not just talking about the entertainment and media industry, is 2008. I
Yeah.
remember at the time I was on staff at Sports Illustrated, which had its offices in Midtown Manhattan, directly across the street from the building that housed the Lehman Brothers, which was an investment bank. And I remember the day where I got off the subway and I just saw these bankers literally walking out of the building across the street with boxes. And that turned out to be the start of the housing crisis in 2008, where the economy completely tanked. A lot of people, and again, that one wasn't targeted at media, but it led to like airlines needing to be bailed out, the collapse of a lot of, certainly the housing industry. This feels like that in terms of watching an entire industry just sort of contract and a massive downsizing that everybody is experiencing at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't want to turn this into a discussion, a financial discussion, but I mean, in your opinion, why do you think it is happening so much in media this time?
I think there's a convergence of a lot of things. And so you mentioned at the top AI, tech, and sort of the different ways in which technology has fundamentally, they like to use the word disrupted, and they truly have disrupted the media business, which is in part a normal thing, right? Like if you look at, how, music videos replaced radio, and the advent of sound replaced silent films, and so media has always evolved as technology has evolved, but the acceleration of things with streaming, sort of pushing out the traditional cable and broadcast television business, the way it's impacted theatrical and how movie theaters and the number of movies that studios make for movie theaters have changed. And now with generative AI, and I would say, I don't think that it's being adopted as prevalently as people say. It's more like the investment that all these big companies have decided that like AI is going to happen. And so we're going to make way for it. And that's really accelerated change in a sense that, just human resources are being offloaded. So that's a big thing. But the other thing that is not as much about tech is consolidation. There used to be, and this might sound a little bit dry, but there used to be X number of major movie studios, as players in the industry. When I started at the Hollywood Reporter 15 years ago, there was the big six. We referred to Disney, Columbia, I'm sorry, Disney, Sony, Universal, Fox, Warner Brothers, and Paramount. And then Disney ate Fox and it became five. And now Paramount's about to eat Warner Brothers and it's going to be four. Every time you consolidate, there are there's redundancies and jobs get cut. And so the media industry, like just the number of players, like the big guys get bigger and they start eating more of the small guys. And then there's just fewer jobs to go around.
Yeah, I read some of your, again, I have it linked up for all of you on the show description. That's some of your articles that I think you mentioned that also. And I actually mentioned this a few years ago when, like you're right, when Disney started, we made the joke, it's like they're collecting Infinity Stones. Well, it wasn't such, I said it's not such a good thing. You're seeing some of the results now. So yeah, you're right on that. So let's get to the main thing that I want to talk about, and that's for graduates. And even for students that are going through school now, they have the youthful excitement, I'll say, looking forward to a career, whatever it is in the industry. But then they see this. So you've lectured at Cal State Fullerton. To those students, and if you were a professor right now and talking to these students, what would you tell them to say, hey, yeah, there is some hope somewhere?
Yeah, so I was a professor at Cal State Fullerton this spring. I taught an entertainment journalism class, but what I'm about to say applies to journalists as well as people who are aspiring creatives in different capacities in the entertainment industry. And I would say the biggest source of your optimism should be the fact that you have time on your side. So it is really like it's true that there are fewer jobs to be had right now and things are downsizing, but I actually think it's a lot harder for somebody maybe like us, mid-career, or especially people who are late career, maybe they have 5 or under 10 years left until retirement, because recovery, whatever recovery looks like, is going to take some time. It might take a few years. And if you have a mortgage, if you have children or other dependents and you were very, very close to retirement, you may not be able to wait out that recovery. When you're right at the beginning of your career, there are things you can do to be resourceful. And by the time the sort of industry stabilizes into its new form, you will still be relatively young. And whatever you make of these few years where maybe you have to, stay with your parents a little longer or take on a number of odd jobs and hustle. You have the energy, you have the you have the youth and vitality to do that, but you can also start picking up a lot of soft skills. You can work on your hard skills, your technical skills, because tech has made that available, where you have an editing suite in your laptop. Go out and, I had a talk with Betsy Beers, who is the co-founder of Shondaland, which makes the shows Bridgerton and Grey's Anatomy and Scandal recently. And one thing she said, which was an amazing piece of career advice I never thought of, she was like, even if you are like a barista, especially in Southern California or here in LA, if you're a barista or you're a server, at a place where a lot of writers frequent, where a lot of, people in the industry frequent, be the best service professional you can be, because people will pick up. If you're proactive and you have an amazing attitude, she's literally hired people and she knows people who have hired people off of just like the barista I see every single morning, who just has that special it factor, who goes above and beyond. I'm not talking about smuggling people your scripts. Do not do that. Do not give people a script unsolicited. But I'm saying just the way in which you present yourself, however you are making your money, the way you present yourself, if you're in spaces, where you're coming in proximity with professionals, like everything is an opportunity and you have the ability to do that right now. And so that's what I would say for graduates is, I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm not going to lie to you. It sucks right now, but you have the time to wait it out. If you just put in the effort and really continue to hone your skills, you can wait this out.
Yeah, that I was smiling when you were saying that. That's great advice, and yeah, I also know some people that have gotten broken into the industry that way. Um, so yeah, that's one way. I've talked to a few recent graduates. They seem to not be in supply of patience, and I get that. It's like I said, it's exciting and all that, but yeah, believe me, I can tell you, I think I'm older than you, Rebecca, but time does fly, and before you know it, you're going to look back like, wow, what those 30 years ago, 40 years ago in this industry. But not for graduates, but for students right now, they're about to be juniors or about to start their senior year or sophomore year. They're still in school right now. To them, would you say continue your studies, or should they shift and learn some other skills? Not change majors, change careers, but I mean, other skills that could help them while they wait this out.
That's a really good question. It's a tricky balance. I am a fan. I've learned now in my age, I am a fan of diversification. I think that I remember that when I was in school, I sort of assumed that the first decision I made out of college would determine and dictate the rest of my life. It was like, I got to pick my career now because there's no takebacks. And that just isn't the case. As in adulthood, life takes all these twists and turns. Lots of people end up in jobs and in careers and lives that they didn't even know, were things, when they started out. And so I think it never hurts to diversify your skill set. And a lot of mid career professionals I know now are actually, they've produced Netflix shows, and they've been filmmakers, and they've been executives, and now they're sort of going back to school to try to find like just a secondary skill, whether it's like I know multiple people who are actually going back to school to be therapists, which is a different conversation about Hollywood. But or whatever, like, oh, I've always actually been really good at graphic design, or I've been good at marketing. Let me see if I can apply my marketing skills outside of Hollywood to other industries. I sometimes this sounds like a downer, I think, to young people, because it's like, I haven't even started yet and you're already telling me to have a backup plan. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying that the more multi-tooled you are, the more useful and employable you can be in different ways. I think it's possible to kind of still do a little bit of both in college. College is absolutely the best time to just explore, because like your job is just to learn and absorb knowledge, skills, and experience. So, don't be afraid to explore a little bit more in college. It's a lot harder once you graduate and you actually have to carve out time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've all heard it's who you know, not just what you know, but what you know also does play a factor into that too. So yeah, you have to have some skills, and the more, like you said, the more skills you have, the more hireable and marketable you are to potential hirers. So, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. Let me have you talk about it to start wrapping up. AI, like I said, AI is a shadow that seems to be over every industry, not just this one. But I mean, for this industry in particular, for media, for broadcast journalism, for the entertainment media, how do you see AI, and what would you say to students about how AI could change these industries?
Sure. So I have to acknowledge that there is a debate even within the creative industry. Like, there are some people, and there's like, nowadays there's like a lot of summits and conferences happening where people who work in the entertainment industry they kind of like, there's a spectrum of, some people are like, oh, we need to learn about it, or we need to adopt it in order. So I will say my personal stance is I'm maybe this makes me a dinosaur. I'm pretty wary of it. Like, I've never used generative AI. I don't have ChatGPT or any of those things on my phone. The most AI that I use is just when I search something in Chrome and Gemini gives me an answer and I'm like, what is this? Give me the normal stuff. So I'm pretty, I guess you could say I'm pretty anti-AI, but I do acknowledge that that's just my personal opinion. I find it really interesting that, there's just so much energy, literally like emotional, mental energy, as well as actual energy cost being poured into trying to supplant what humans the most unique human attribute, which is creativity. Like there's so many things you could do with AI that really could cut down on labor, that, to free us up to be imaginative. And yet a lot of times people are just like, no, let's use AI to do the acting or to do the screenwriting or to do whatever. I think that really robs us of the joy of creativity. I think that if you're using AI, like I've seen, you see those clips on social media, that like 2 minutes of like a crazy visual effect of a woman turning into a Voltron and then a car flipping over and then a tidal wave coming over. And like, that's cool. Like, cool. You put some visual effects artists out of work to do that, but that, like, why? Like, do you not actually like art? Like, because a lot of the joy is in making that yourself, coming. So, I, I, I'd be curious. There's a film at Tribeca Film Festival right now that was completely made with generative AI. And weirdly enough, it's a pretty grounded drama. It's not like a special effects sci-fi fantasy. It's an Iranian war drama that was completely made with generative AI. It'll be interesting to see how it does, because so far AI has not really convincingly been able to replicate that X factor of human sentiment and emotion. Like you can use it for like sort of more splashy visual effects that aren't supposed to feel super realistic. And so we'll see how that does. But I'm concerned about the overuse of AI because I think it makes us a little duller. I think it harms the artist and the audience. It gets us used to something that is regurgitated rather than original and creative. And you can see, I was just listening to an interview with the director Kane Parsons, the 20-year-old director of Backrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the podcast The Town, which is a big industry podcast run by my former boss. Kane Parsons, 20 years old, he does not use AI. He was just like, yeah, that's not for me. I'm not into it. And, so it is possible to make something great that everybody loves without taking that shortcut. And then you can know it's yours. So again, I'm saying that's my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody other than me. I'm just a little bit like, before you go to AI, first try it yourself. At least.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is, like you said, it is your opinion, but it is pretty unanimous. When I talk to different people, different levels, some that have been in the industry for years, some that are just starting out, it's pretty much the same thing you just said. A lot of them want to use AI, but as a tool only, not as, like you said, not as the generative, not the creative thing. That still should come from humans. Keep it authentically human. I agree with that. A lot of what worries me, and yes, it skews on the younger side, is I see them want to forget the creativity and just, go to ChatGPT, give me a script about this. There's my movie. That's the part that worries me. So, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, and look, I'll give you like an honest, like I taught a class this semester, and most of my students, I could tell, like they it's a writing class. They submitted their own writing. A couple of my students did use AI to submit their papers. And after I detected it, it was a bummer, but it was really also like, what did you learn from this class? Are you going to just try to get away with using AI for the rest of your career and then just mask it that way? Because they're not like you're not learning anything. You're actually not getting better. I'm not able to help you. It's sort of like if you went to like a beauty consultant and you were like, oh, I want to know like how to fix my face, or I want to know, like, I go to a plastic surgeon, how do I fix my face? Okay, show me your face. You send me something with a filter on it. It's like, I actually don't know how to help you. I literally don't know what to teach you because you're not showing me what your real ability is. And so you're really missing out on a lot if you're a lot of opportunity to learn if you're relying on it, and it really flattens and dampens. Like I do think that reading too much AI makes me less sharp as a writer. So I'm trying to, like, as soon as I'm on Threads, I'm like, oh no, this is AI generated text. I got to stop reading that post. I have to.
Yeah, yeah. So let's wrap with this. Again, start with why you're here. What I wanted to talk about is not just for students, for anyone that wants to be in the industry, whether filmmaker, journalist, whatever it is. Let's close with some advice from you to them. It looks like, yeah, the times are getting tough and tougher. They're not getting better anytime soon. But what advice would you give to them to hold out until it does get better?
So first of all, there's dignity. Any kind of work is inherently dignified. So if you can't find a way to like make money by doing your art yet, like find a way to make money just to, keep sustain yourself or provide for yourself or your family. Like all work is dignified. Don't ever feel like, oh, I'm an artist, I can't take this job, like driving on the side or whatever. Like all work is dignified. There's nothing wrong with that. And I would say, like, watch or listen to whatever kind of medium you are, like just immerse yourself, absorb as much quality stuff that you enjoy as you can. You can learn so much just by surrounding yourself with like inspiration, people who are really, really good, and then go out and make. Right. This is the great thing. This is the great thing about living right now with technology at your disposal. I'm not talking about generative AI as a tool, but all these other tools where you can make incredible work. I mean, I talked about Kane Parsons and Backrooms. Let's talk about Curry Barker and Obsession, right? It is absolutely possible. Actually, right now, as we're, summer of 2026, Hollywood is sort of rediscovered the potential of these filmmakers who, built followings on social media and came from completely outside of the system, Markiplier with the Iron Lung. You can make stuff, get together with friends. Are you the writer? You need some actors. You got somebody who's great at editing. Get together with like-minded people, make things for the passion of it, right? Maybe that thing doesn't necessarily make $80 million in a weekend. That's okay. That's an aberration. But when you make something and you make that second thing, you will get better and better each time. And if you find joy in the making of it, that will help you that'll help pass the time as well.
Yeah, again, well said. So I have everything linked up on the show description for you there. Rebecca, thanks a lot for coming on and speaking to me for a little bit. You're welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure, Henry. Thanks for having me.